back. This is BoomerLife on CIL 650.
All right, and welcome back to the show. That's my favorite intro song, Sleepwalk by Ultravox. SnoreDentist, Dr. Charnel Muir is our guest, and we're talking about snoring, sleep problems, sleep apnea, also known as restricted...
well, generally as a category, we call it sleep-disrupted breathing.
Sleep-disrupted breathing. And also joining us on the phone from Washington State is Steve Wick, who's written a book called Kicking the Bear Out of the Bedroom, Snoring and Sleep Apnea, the Not-So-Silent Killers. And how do you get the book, Steve?
Available on Amazon, and right now, because it was published over Thanksgiving weekend in the States, which is end of November, and because it's new and it needs to get out there to as many people as possible, it's 99 cents on a Kindle version. And all I would ask is
$7 Canadian. I'm joking.
I forgot about the exchange rate. But or you can send me a chicken or whatever, or a pig or whatever.
A goat.
But,
there you.
Yeah, and all I would ask is that if you read it and get one pearl of wisdom out there, that you go back on Amazon and write a review for me, because the more reviews I get, the more people will be intrigued by it, and hopefully we'll get the message out and get people treated.
Because, I think that's a critical part, is educating patients, and they need to know how to even deal with this, what to do with it, what it might be, what the treatment options are, what their, the roads to go to as to finding people. There's a lot of people out there listening to the show right now that don't even know, for instance, I exist, because their physicians may or may not be familiar with oral appliance therapy, or they may not be familiar with a diplomat that has a practice solely in sleep medicine. Or
they might not even be aware that the health problems that this person is having is because they're not sleeping well.
Right. They still might just think they're normal tired, that they're supposed to be this cranky and tired all the time. And it's just, it's just 80 to 90% of patients are undiagnosed.
So, Steve, your book came out in American Thanksgiving, which is in November. So when you have you've got a few months now under your belt, how's it doing, and what's the reaction?
It's actually been doing really well, surprisingly well. Within the first week and a half, it was actually on the Amazon bestseller list. And so far, every review I've gotten is 5 stars out of 5 stars. Now, granted, some of them were friends, but a lot of them weren't, and so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the continued 5-star review. There have been several dentists who have implemented the book into their practice, and I've been getting phone calls wanting to reorder books because patients are actually asking, how much can I buy this book? Can I take it home? And the book was designed for dentists to give to their patients to take home and share with family and friends. And so it's been done exceedingly well, better than I would have hoped, and hopefully will continue to do well and to get patients into treatment.
Okay, who came up with the name Kicking the Bear Out of the Bedroom?
That was my wife. Believe it or not.
Did she get a writing credit then?
Exactly. Well, she's mentioned in there as been part of the dedication. But I added the subtitle, the snoring and sleep apnea, not so silent killers, just because I wanted to make sure that as people browsed through Amazon and there are millions of books, if they happen to type in snoring or sleep apnea or medical condition, that would pop up in their search, because truly it is a serious medical condition, and kicking the bear out of the bedroom, although it sounds kind of funny, is the segue into the more serious part of the title.
That's the voice of Steve Wick, who wrote the book Kicking the Bear Out of the Bedroom, Snoring and Sleep Apnea, the Not-So-Silent Killers. So with this book, you're hoping that when people type in snoring or sleep apnea, your book will bubble up to the top, and I'm sure it will. It's doing well after only a few short months. And so did you have any underlying medical conditions that the doctor maybe should have caught that were related to sleep apnea? Did you have high blood pressure? Did you have borderline, high blood sugar or anything like that? Diabetes? Anything that you had?
I didn't, okay. And that's the scary thing, is that there really are no warning signs other than, the snoring and the excessive daytime sleepiness. And there are sleep apneics that don't snore. And so you eliminate that warning sign, and if we assume that being tired during the day is normal, people are walking through, surviving throughout the day with sleep apnea and really have no way of knowing that they're suffering.
So how did you feel then when you got the oral device? And you're okay. So as a percentage, say you were walking around as a 10, or do you feel like 100%? How do you describe how you feel now that you have the oral appliance and you can work with your sleep apnea?
I guess the best word is normal, because for me, my normal has changed, and my normal doesn't include an afternoon nap anymore. I'm able to get a lot more done. I'm able to stay more focused on tasks at hand. But again, I didn't know any different. Before I was treated, that was my normal. So it's hard to put a value on how much better I feel, other than I'm living a happier, healthier life. I'm sleeping in the same bed. Like I said again, I'm more active. I get to the gym more often. I'm riding my bike. I'm a ski instructor with my daughter, and I'm not all constantly tired.
So that's the upward spiral I kind of referenced earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Dr. Muir, when somebody comes in to your office and they're feeling down, and you said often in women through menopause, it manifests as depression.
I actually will see a percentage of women that will come in, and their original diagnosis for a fair number of years has been depression, and they're on antidepressants. And really it's the sleep apnea. Once we can get them sleeping better, their mood shifts, their energy shifts. A woman presents to a physician when they go in as being lethargic and non-engaged in activities. They're like, I just don't feel like going with the kids to their hockey game, or I don't feel like doing that. It sounds more like a depressed person.
And then women also have the other layer that they're diagnosed more often with thyroid issues too, right?
Yes.
So that could be, maybe they're thinking that's the problem.
That's right, yeah, or iron. There'll often be all sorts of excuses or reasons as to why they're tired, and no one has really looked at their sleep. Or they'll often say, well, women are supposed to be light sleepers because they listen for the baby and they listen for the kids. And they do have that genetically ingrained in them to have that. But they could also be light sleeping, as Steve was saying, because their body is constantly waking them up brain-wise throughout the entire night, because their brain perceives a threat. It's in fight and flight. It thinks the enemy's strangling them.
So when you have a man coming in at 45 or 50, you think that's quite normal. When do women typically come to you? Is it a little bit older? It
can be a little bit older, yeah. But I'm seeing more and more lately. I'm seeing quite a few women college years. That they're tired. They're just not functioning through the day. And the doctor, their family doctor, one in particular in North Vancouver, will send them over for a sleep study, thinking it should at least be looked at.
Now, is some of that too much screen time at that age, or is it coming back as apnea?
Yeah, no, it can be some of both. But a lot of my fatigued women will come in and they're very affected by even the mildest of apneas, because maybe their events are quite long, or they have a condition that's called upper airway resistance syndrome, which is just a limitation in airflow but not actual apnea where the airway closes. And that can really affect some women as well, especially. Some men as well.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, did you get the oral appliance put in your mouth? How long did it take you to get used to that?
It took me probably 3 to 4 weeks before I was able to wear it throughout the night. Anything that's foreign in your mouth is going to cause a little bit of difficulty initially. So I would say the first week or so I was taking it out in the middle of the night, and it took a while for me to be able to wear it throughout the night. But when I finally got to that point, I wear it every night now, all night long.
And it's also great for traveling. You don't have to cart around a CPAP machine.
Yeah, what's interesting is now that I know what CPAP is and what it looks like, how many people I see going through TSA and getting on flights carrying that bag that I know is a CPAP, just because I know what it looks like now. But it's funny. I had no idea that many people were using it.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of things that came up in your earlier conversation with Charnel that I wanted to kind of touch on. You talked about screen time with especially college-age kids and things, and that really is an issue. And what's called proper sleep hygiene is there are a number of things that you can do to get a good night's sleep even without sleep apnea. But one of the things that screen time will do, computers, televisions, cell phones, they give off blue light, and the blue light will affect the way the hormones in your body and affect your circadian rhythm, which causes you to not get a good night's sleep. So one of the first things that I would tell anybody is, you know what, once you go to bed, put the phone away, turn the TV off, put your tablet away, and get a good night's sleep, and that's a start.
Well, I can totally understand that, but for me, I put the news on and watch the news, and I fall asleep because, I don't know, it's just boring, right? So I guess it's different for everybody, but too much of something is bad.
Yeah, and the other thing that you were talking about earlier with women, and you mentioned menopause, the other thing that we see now is pregnant women will have sleep apnea, an onset of sleep apnea during pregnancy, and they think it may be hormonal changes, but also, weight gain. But one of the things it does is, if you think about sleep apnea, your body's not getting enough oxygen. What's that doing to the fetus? The fetus is also not getting enough oxygen. So it's really critical for pregnant women to be aware of the potential for sleep apnea.
Is it something that goes away, or does that once you have?
It oftentimes does.
Right.
But yeah, you want to make sure that if you're suffering from some of these symptoms, or if you're snoring because you're pregnant, realize that is having a negative impact on the fetus as well.
All right.
And there have been a number of patients I've seen, and we've made them one of the what we call temporary appliances, say an EMA or a silent night appliance type of thing, where they can wear it for the duration of their pregnancy and slightly after, while they may be losing the rest of the weight. But majority of them do go away. But yeah, getting treatment during the pregnant period is very important.
That's Dr. Charnel Muir, the SnoreDentist, and her website is snoredentist.ca. Also joining us from Washington State is Steve Wick, the author of the book, Kicking the Bear Out of the Bedroom, Snoring and Sleep Apnea, the Not-So-Silent Killers. And we'll continue the conversation next on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.